Welcome to our webinar. Interesting topic. Is your home safe from a natural disaster? And thank you for watching. We're streaming on Facebook uh, instead of YouTube and LinkedIn. Somehow our rebroadcasting live didn't work, so we have to post our videos later on YouTube and LinkedIn, but Facebook we're on. So this is a continuation of our webinar series, Ask the Building Expert. And this webinar is presented by Construction Management Inspection. And topic, is your home safe from a natural disaster? Well, we're going to go into it. But before I start talking about these disasters, we have to ask ourselves, and I'll ask you guys, what is a natural disaster anyway? Well, it's a catastrophic events. We're going to try and discuss how we can make things better as much as possible. There's different types of natural disasters, but what is the actual definition of a natural disaster? Well, it's any kind of major disaster, catastrophe that is not man-made or is not caused uh, by man. So, for instance, the insurance companies, their definition of an act of God is like a natural disaster, which means that any kind of disaster that's caused by uh, human or man, such as leaving campgrounds and the campfire is not really put out and it starts a wildfire kind of thing. That's considered not a natural disaster. Or somebody driving along the road smoking, he flicks the cigarette out the window, and now all these dry grass areas catch on fire. That's not a natural disaster, even if it caused $1 billion in damages. Is a nuclear explosion a natural disaster? No, because it's caused by a human, right? So we're talking about incidents that have nothing to do with man. It's not a man-made kind of situation. Okay, and then we're going to talk about some building codes, regulations, in order to protect uh, your home from a natural disaster. Then we're looking at strengthening the foundation, the structural design of your house, using better materials, better roof wall design, maybe elevated construction, lifting your house higher if there's a flood area or tsunami, safety glass, windows. Also, precautions like for a wildfire, you don't want to have too much vegetation or trees growing too close to your house, right? And then also regular maintenance. So let's talk about the types of natural disasters. You have, as you know, earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tornado. And we're broadcasting from Honolulu, Hawaii. So we don't have tornadoes, although we have like tornadoes on the water called water spouts. We have volcanoes, we have earthquakes, hurricanes, definitely hurricanes, wildfire. We don't have too many, but the ones that we recently had were kind of major. But I don't consider the Maui Lahaina wildfire a natural disaster. I think as we get more information, we're going to see that there were things that could have been prevented. A landslide, earth moving, that's a natural disaster. Not enough water, rain is a drought condition, that's natural. Tsunami, that's natural. Hailstorm, definitely. So let's talk about design, construction, means, and methods. Now, there's a certain way to design a house or a building And then there's another way, taking into consideration structural protection and structural issues. So if your property is in a uh, seismic zone prone to earthquakes, then you want to design accordingly, right? Just the same as if your house or building is near the ocean and it's prone to a tsunami area, it's located in a tsunami area, you want to take precautions and design and construct your house accordingly. So in different areas, it's going to be applicable to the type of construction. And that's basically dictated by the building and zoning codes, although the building and zoning codes are minimum standards. You want to follow more than minimum standards. I would say go maximum standards if you have the money to do that. So design, construction, means and methods. There's building codes and regulations. The codes change every 3 years, and it's really gets stricter and stricter. And they're cognizant of all these natural disasters. That's why the code is designed for building safety. And so the reason why it's more strict, and every year it gets stricter, is because there's more testing done and more natural disasters. So after a certain incident, the code officials get together and talk about how things could have been better or could be better. For instance, that Florida building collapse that was near Miami, Surfside. After that incident, the building code regulators were having a lot of meetings and discussing how things could be better, uh, changing the codes to make better and safer buildings. So the building codes and regulations come into play, and then the foundation and structure design. Now, if your house is located in an earthquake zone, you're not going to design a really flimsy foundation, right? You want to make sure that when the ground starts moving, the house isn't going to just fall apart or fall down. So that's a key element. And then what type of materials? You want to use heavy reinforced materials. Make sure the building and the structure is solid. That's why all these high-rise buildings built today are reinforced concrete. They're designed to withstand natural elements such as heavy wind or an earthquake or things like that. A roof and wall design has to be more solid. In fact, on the mainland, they're going to design roofs in areas that there's heavy snow. You're going to design the roof accordingly so that when there's a lot of snow, there's a lot of weight, right? Because it's basically frozen water. So you got a lot of pounds and pressure on your house or building roof, and you want that roof to, withstand all the heavy snow loads. Elevated construction, if you're in area prone to flooding or water or tsunami, you lift the house up from the ground so that it doesn't get damaged when there's a lot of water or flood. And then resistant glazing. This is for high winds. Your windows have to be impact resistant and hurricanes. So you have flying debris. A lot of times the debris could be branches, it could be chairs, it could be anything flying around, and it cracks the windows. So if you have resistant glazing and you have double, triple pane, and whenever there's impact, your windows won't crack. And that's the problem. When older houses are hit by hurricanes, you have windows getting blown out or cracked, and then wind and water and everything gets into the house. Proper drainage and grading. This is very important. You might not think so, like if it's a sunny day, no big deal. But if it's constantly raining, and thunderstorms and a hurricane, then you want to make sure that the water drains away from your house and not ponding or start draining towards your house, and then you have a flood inside your house. So that's a key element. Civil engineering and drainage is important. Also designed for a wildfire. There's a lot of wildfire resistant ideas and design. Landscaping. You don't want to plant your trees and vegetation too close to your house. There's certain zones where it's limited landscaping right around your house, and then maybe 30 to 50 feet away, then you have larger trees. Now, can you imagine if you're living in a forest and 10 or 20 feet away, there's huge trees, right? It makes for a nice environment, but it's not conducive to fire protection, because once one tree catches on fire, then the other catches on fire, and then it's so close to your house, wind's blowing, the next thing you know, your house is on fire. So that's the reason for all these plans and zones, right? So, and then you don't want to be too close to the other houses too. And then some people want to construct a safe room in their house. So the safe room is in case of a natural disaster, hurricane, tornado, you go on the safe room, and then you're protected for that duration. Now in the old days, like in the Wizard of Oz in Kansas, uh, the safe room was like going in the basement of these houses. So if you go underground, then you can, be safe. But in Hawaii, we don't have too many basements, so there's not too many safe rooms. And then there's earthquake resistant construction. Some call it earthquake proof, but it may not be depending on the severity of the earthquake. And then there's the hurricane resistant and tsunami resistant. Well, tsunami resistant is basically you have elevated building, and then the water goes through the structure or through the building. So if you look at the image on the right, if you look at the house on the left, it's not elevated. So in case of a flood or tsunami, that house would get flooded, but then the house in the picture that's elevated, will be okay, hopefully. And then there's a whole bunch of wildfire prevention tips. I know that, in the past 10 years ago, there wasn't that many wildfires. And now, like, you've seen a lot. California, Colorado, Oregon. It's crazy. And then no one really thought it would come to Hawaii, but it did. So that's another precaution that we need to take. So not too many people, especially in Hawaii, were aware or were prepared. You heard of Emergency Preparedness Agency. We have emergency preparedness offices in Hawaii. We weren't too prepared, because when this wildfire hit, it was like people were scrambling and they didn't know what to do. So we have to do a better job, learn from the agencies on the mainland, because we didn't think that there would be a wildfire of that large scope. Just the same as like we get caught off guard. We don't expect that there's going to be a tsunami coming or a hurricane, right? Or maybe a volcano erupting. We're not really expecting those things. So we need to be prepared to deal with these situations. Let's talk about some wildfire prevention tips. Well, like I said before, you create defensible space, you create these zones. Zone 1, right around your house, right? You got maybe 30 feet. You don't have any large trees, you have limited vegetation. So if there's a fire and a heavy wind, you don't have these trees catching on fire right next to your house, and then next thing you know, your house is on fire, right? So that's zone 1. Zone 2 is between 30 to 50 feet, and that's where you have some trees, but you don't have too many trees. Okay, so there's information about that available online through FEMA and other agencies. Also choose fire-resistant plants. What that means is plants that have a lot of water in them, and not where the leaves dry out and the bark is dry and it's easy to catch on fire. So there's a list of fire-resistant plants too. And then also, trim the trees and shrubs. There's a lot of times where people neglect, and there's a lot of dead branches on the trees. And when there's a fire or sparks start flying around, it's just going to catch the dead branches and the dead leaves on fire, right? Also, there's a lot of trees that shed leaves. You don't want to have leaves piled up around your yard. I know if you're doing a mulch thing or whatever, you can do it in a different area, right? But don't let the dead leaves pile up, because when sparks fly, that's just gonna go up in flames. Fire breaks and fire break barriers. That's why on the mainland there's a lot of fire breaks where they go and really clear areas away so that if there was a fire, it doesn't keep spreading. Okay, and then on your house, you have special kind of roof shingles that you can use, a roofing material, such as metal roof or concrete shingles. And then make sure your gutters, it's good to have metal gutters. The plastic gutters, vinyl, they're just going to melt and burn in a fire, right? And then when there's a forest fire, a wildfire, and it's windy, guess what? The flames, the embers, and sparks are just blown all over the place. So you don't want to have any openings in your house. That's why you have these closed up vents. If you have an open chimney, that's not a good idea too. So a lot of times the recommendation is to put some screen over the chimney so that, well, people think, well, it's for embers and sparks to not like blow out from the chimney, but it can be the other way around. Okay. And then if you look at that picture on top of the chimney, there's a little metal thing that's called a spark arrestor, and that's where the screen is there so that basically the sparks and pieces of wood and paper don't start blowing on your house roof. And then keep firewood away. Don't store it right next to your house. I mean, that doesn't make sense. And then there's also fire-resistant siding. There's fiber cementitious siding material, which is basically made of cement and other building materials that don't really catch on fire. I've seen test results done, and you have all these burn marks, but then it doesn't catch on fire. So they had the video that I saw, they had one house made out of wood and one house with the fiber cement siding. And the wood siding just caught on fire and there was flames. And then the fiber cement siding was just black, but it didn't catch on fire. So that's just some advice. So remember, safety first. And you want to make sure that you consult with experts in the field that know how to protect homes and retrofit the homes and buildings to make it safer. So reach out to the experts and then do your research. There's a lot of research online, and you can find out more information. So in conclusion, like I said before, make sure that you inspect your house and then your building. If you live in an apartment building or a condo building, it doesn't matter whether it's a two-story townhouse or a 40-story high-rise building. There's things to be aware of for uh, protection from a natural disaster. So when I say home, protect your home, that means any type of home that you live in, be it a single family house, a duplex, high-rise condominium, and apartment building, and that kind of type of building. So the objective here is to keep safe and protected. We're all about building health and safety. Now, what you missed, we give a series of building and construction webinars, and this is our third year, I think. And we've given webinars about almost every single topic, from foundation, wood repair, roofing, electrical, plumbing, and the list goes on and on. Building codes, working with a contractor, hurricane ties, and you can go to our website. I'll give you the link later, and select whatever webinars you want to watch. So although you missed the live presentation, you can always watch the video replay, okay? And it's free. You don't need a Netflix account or anything like that. What's coming up? We have a webinar scheduled for 2024, and we decided on some hot topics. So I'll let you know what they are next month and all the way through December. So our topics here are, next is fixing building foundation problems. And then we have managing water intrusion, tackling leaks, drainage, and mold in buildings. Another webinar, condo remodeling simplified from design to execution. The next, types of engineers for your construction project. There's not only one engineer, there's many different types of engineers. Then we have another topic, fire sprinklers, who needs it? Mainly for high-rise buildings, but it applies to anybody, even single-family homes. Then next we have top 10 costly condo renovation projects. It's a whole different animal when you want to do renovation in a condo building, okay? Different from a single-family house. And next we have construction terminology. What's this mumbo jumbo? I'm going to give you construction terms and give you the definition. There's also history of major disasters in Hawaii. That's based on research that we're doing. And then we have two other ones that are more real estate related: smart condo management, asset care, and legal insights. And then in December, we have Real Estate 101, licensing, ethics, and AI marketing. Now, you probably heard about the recent railing collapse at a hotel in Waikiki. So I'm working on a specific webinar that's not in the program, but it's going to be a pop-up one that we're going to do, talking about railing failures and how to prevent them. So that's what's coming up. Hope you can join us in one or two webinars. And here's our website. Visit our website, askbuildingexpert.now.site. That website is not a simple site. We have different categories on our website, from the webinars that we've given, you can watch on demand. We have publications, we have handouts, we have copies of PowerPoints that you can get. It's all there. It's jam-packed with a lot of knowledge and information. It's kind of like our own Ask Building Expert Google and Wikipedia situation. So that's our special website. And then I'm open. So you got questions, I got answers. If you need to reach me, I have my phone number and email on the screen. If you're not looking at your screen and listening, my number is 808-422-2132. Email lanceluke@hawaiibuildingexpert.com. So right now, I'd like to open it up for any questions that you may have. I know we're only broadcasting on Facebook, so we're not on LinkedIn, so we can't check to see. But if anybody has any questions, Facebook. Sometimes people can't attend our live, or they can attend, but they're too shy to kind of post it or ask it. So they email questions in advance of our webinar. And some people they're working or they're doing something else and they can't attend our live presentation. And we ask them to still contact us if you have questions, because then they can watch the replay, right? Also, if you're watching this on Facebook or LinkedIn or YouTube later and you have any questions, just post them and then we'll be able to get back to you. If you don't have any questions, you have any comments, suggestions, we welcome that too. Other thing is, if you have any suggestions for future topics for our webinars, like something that's a hot topic, let us know and then we'll consider it. We're always listening to our audience, and the best thing is for our audience participation. One little commercial I'd like to make before the questions is, we have coming up, if you're in Hawaii or willing to come to Hawaii, in March, we have a building expo. And I'm going to be giving a seminar. I didn't introduce Martin, but Martin's a co-host. And he's going to be helping at the seminar. And also, we have a booth there. So come, visit us, talk story, bring all your questions. We'll be happy to answer them for you. So the seminar is not scheduled yet. I don't have a date, but we're giving a seminar and working with contractors. So that should be good. And then I'm actually going to be printing up books on the topic. So every attendee at the seminar will get a free book on working with a contractor. That might not be the exact title of the book, but it's something like that. Okay, so Martin, are you around? Wanted to see if there's any questions that people have.
Yes, Lance, I am here. And we've had a couple of questions that came in, some interesting ones. So let me hit you with them now. The first one is says, Lance, considering the diversity of natural disasters, can you give us a top 3 list of must-do steps for homeowners to make their homes resilient? Or is there a one-size-fits-all approach?
Well, there's not a one-size-fits-all, because if you look at the kinds of homes or houses, there's no one-size-fits-all, right? We have studio condo units, we have duplexes, we have single-family houses, so it's all different. So there's no one-size-fits-all, but I right offhand I can't think of like top 3, but I can think of top 2. The first one would be consistent with what I said before, is to hire experts, get experts to help you. Hire, and then who are these people? Well, contractors, engineers, architects, they're experts, right? So if you have questions about what you need to do to make your home safer from a natural disaster, these are your frontline people. Contact them and they can help you. Okay, that's the first step. The second step is, when any of these experts give you advice follow the advice. So for instance, I get contacted by a homeowner, says, can you come to my house and take a look at my house? And I'm concerned that when we have a hurricane, I don't want my house to blow away. Okay, fair enough. So I go to the house and then I look and then I find out that his house wasn't built with hurricane ties, hurricane straps. So I said, you have heavy wind, your roof's gonna blow off. And he said, oh yeah, what do I need to do? I said, well, your house wasn't, at the time your house was built, there was no requirement, but I think you should still do it. Okay, so that was my advice. I even gave him recommendation of contractors. Come to find out, years later, he didn't do that. So my advice is take advice from people, and not only take it, but follow up on it. Do it. I'm not telling him just do it because I want him to spend his money, or I want the contractor to make money. I'm doing it so that he can protect his house. So if there's good advice, follow it and take it, because it sure could go a long way. And I give free advice all the time. I gave advice to Martin. Hey, here's what you should do. Fix your house up. If he doesn't listen, then he's going to end up spending more money later when he finally gets around to it. Okay, so number one, and number two, consult experts and follow their advice. If you need a second opinion, after you consult with the expert, reach out to us and we'll be able to give you our opinion, whether you like our opinion or not. So anyway, hopefully that was good answers to the question.
Yeah, that was a great answer, Lance. And one of my comments is, as far as natural disasters, I mean, it's going to be customizing your plan according to what your environment is and what what kind of disasters you have. Like you mentioned about Hawaii, well, we get volcano issues and we get hurricane issues. So that's something that the consumer can do to just kind of consider the kind of disasters that they're kind of faced with, either seasonally or whatever, and then look to that as a guide for what kind of natural disasters that they need to prepare for. So yeah, good answer. You had good answer.
Okay, I'd like to add something. I know in the presentation I mentioned the different types of natural disasters. I mentioned volcano. Now, that's one natural disaster that no matter what you do, it may not be enough. You can build your house out of concrete and make a fortress out of it, but if the volcano erupts and you're in the eruption zone, there's basically nothing you can do. I've inspected many areas where they had volcano eruption, and entire like subdivisions were gone. I couldn't even find a street because it was like this huge acres and acres of lava flow, and it's eerie. Going down the street, there's a stop sign, and there's no other houses there, where in the past there were like rows and rows of houses on different streets. And then you could have one side of the street, all the houses were overtaken by lava. All you see is lava because the houses burnt to the ground. And across the street, all the houses are still standing. So that's one type of natural disaster that I can't really say much of how to protect your home or save your home. It's almost impossible, right? The last house that I inspected was a litigation case, and the homeowner was suing his insurance company because the insurance company didn't want to cover the cost of fixing up his house. And the claim was that the house is still good. the house was still standing, but it was damaged from not the lava. It didn't catch on fire. It was damaged from the corrosive air. So he had solar panels, and the air coming from a lava eruption it's like acid rain. There's a lot of chemicals, and when I went on top the roof, his solar panels were like so corroded. I've never. It was like he took the panels off and threw it in the ocean and left it for a couple of years, and then he got it back out and put it back on his roof. That's how bad. All the metal components in the house were corroded, including inside of his house, some of his electrical wiring. Yeah, that's how bad it was. So I've seen firsthand how much damage can be caused to a single family house from a volcanic eruption where the house is still there and it didn't get engulfed by lava. I mean, it was pretty eye-opening experience for me. But anyway, what other questions we got?
Oh, yes. The next question that came in says, I've always wondered, what's the most surprising or unconventional piece of advice you have for us on preparing our homes for disasters? Something we might not find in the typical safety guides. I think that
Man,
volcano one was one.
that's a hard one. But let me go back and talk about the railing. This hotel in Waikiki, the railing collapsed, right? So there was no natural disaster, but I'm thinking if we had a huge hurricane come with strong winds and the railing basically collapsed on its own, how many more railings could have fallen over, right? And no one really got hurt. This was on the 5th floor. Can you imagine if it was on the 20th floor and people were, down below? So my opinion is that every building, regardless whether it's a hotel or not, it could be a condo, every building, and it doesn't have to be a high-rise building. It could be a low-rise, 2 or 3 stories high. If you have railing, and it doesn't matter what type of railing it is, it could be metal, it could be concrete, it could be wood, whatever type of material it's made out of, have the railings inspected to make sure that there's no problem with wood rot or corrosion or any kind of other conditions which would cause the railing to fail. Now that's my message. It's very important, and I'm going to continue talking about that message because as we speak, I know there's more hotels that are inspecting their railings. And when you're on vacation, you don't think that your railing is going to fall down, right? When you're in your hotel room, you want to have fun. You're on vacation. You want to, you spend a lot of money. You want to go outside your hotel room, go on the lanai and the balcony, stand by the railing and look at the nice mountain view or ocean view. In this case, there was an ocean view. You got people surfing, you got boaters out there, and they're having a good time, right? So you want to experience having a good time also. You don't want to worry about, am I going to like fall over? Is the railing going to give way? You don't want to worry about all that. So the key takeaway on this is building safety. And I can tell you this, most buildings do not inspect their railings when they should. It's sort of like if nothing's wrong, then we're good to go, right? It's not set it and forget it. There's no building material that lasts forever. And it's not, the railing is made up of several types of building materials, and sometimes they all don't get along. You have a lanai concrete slab, you have a lanai balcony railing that's metal. Now, the metal's connected to the concrete slab. How is it connected? It's either embedded railing posts or it's surface mounted. Do these rust? Of course it does. How long is it going to be before it rusts out? So the idea is the structural inspections for integrity and make sure that all the components are working together and it's safe. So I could give a whole nother webinar, talk about it another hour about this issue, and I probably will. So Martin, be prepared. We got another webinar that I'm gonna develop about this whole railing issue.
Oh, I'm sure, I'm sure. And just to comment on, you're actually talking about another natural disaster that most of us overlook. You're talking about the natural disaster of aging. Everything gets old and needs to be, checked out, even us. Yeah. So the issues are all related to time and age. Yeah. When you look at it after a while. Yeah. So
That's
anyway.
exactly correct. I mean, another analogy, let's not talk about buildings. Let's switch to talking about cars, right? You have a car and every year it gets older and older. And then do you have inspections done? Yeah, well, maybe a safety check, right? But you cannot just put oil and gas, right? And just drive around. Some people drive around, just put gas. They don't even check the oil or water or anything. And you can't do that because you just drive it to the ground. I mean, the brakes are getting old and you don't have it fixed, so you don't have it inspected. That's why the government mandated safety checks, because they can't trust people to check their own cars. They know that people aren't going to do it, right? So if they didn't have that, you'd be, checking your car. One person's checking their car, every year, and then another one, they never checked it for 10 years and the thing's falling apart. You want to be on the road next to that car that like is unsafe. Maybe they need a brake job and they're speeding or something and they're behind you, right? And they can't stop. So it's a whole safety thing. So that's the analogy. And then you look at buildings now. Buildings are way more expensive than a car, right? So what's up? We need to be spending money. We need to be proactive. And yes, it costs. And we don't want to hear that dollar sign noise, right? Cash noise from a register or whatever. But you have to spend the money to pay for inspections and for maintenance. The problem with these buildings that are falling apart and that there's no inspection and maintenance, they just get ignored. They kick the can down the road, think we don't have money now, we'll save money and we'll fix it later. Well, there may be no later if the building falls apart, right? Somebody gets hurt. The insurance claim to pay for damages for somebody that got hurt or died is way more than the cost of fixing the building. So it's just common sense. That's all. So anyway, any other
Absolutely
comments and
correct.
questions?
Absolutely correct, Lance. I mean, everything is about health and safety, including our own personal health. Yeah. So let me get to the last question that came in so far here. Is as an author, Lance, you've probably seen and heard many extraordinary stories. Could you share a memorable case where someone's clever home modifications or quick thinking during a disaster made all the difference in protecting their property? We all love good stories, right?
Yeah, I like good stories. Let me think now. Okay, this is not from me. I didn't experience this myself, but I heard this story about on the mainland. There was a big hurricane, and this contractor had bought this brand new truck for work. He was in the construction business, and it cost $85,000 for his big truck. I don't know what brand it was, but it was just, it wasn't a monster truck, but it was a pretty big truck. So anyway, he was so concerned about protecting his truck from the hurricane. He parked it in his garage, had a garage door, and uh, you know, the chains they use, like when you have to tow a car, you have these chains. And so anyway, he had these chains, and he chained his truck to his garage door. Okay, because he's thinking, um, yeah, I spent a lot of money. It's a brand new truck. If there's a hurricane, it blows my house down or blows the garage door open or whatever, uh, I want my truck to be safe. So he chained the garage door to his truck, and then the back of his truck, he chained his truck to some uh pipe that was in his garage. So the story is, after the hurricane was over, he went outside. Okay, nothing happened to his truck. His garage door was still intact. Uh, and remember, he was protecting his truck. He went outside, and every house in that neighborhood, in that little cul-de-sac, their garage doors actually blew open. It was so windy that the garage doors were gone, right? All the other houses, and the neighbors were asking him, "How come your garage door is still closed? What happened?" And he was like, he didn't want to admit it. He said, "Well, I was trying to protect my truck. I just bought a new truck for $85,000, and so I tied my truck to the garage." And so what happened was, the heavy winds, because it was chained to his truck, his garage door didn't blow away. So I thought that was a pretty funny story. I said, here's a guy who was only concerned about protecting his $85,000 truck, but his house was worth $285,000. He wasn't too worried about his house, uh, more about his new truck. So anyway, that's an interesting story. So you got any other comments, Martin?
Yeah, well, no questions that I could see on Facebook here or Zoom. But no, it's good. I mean, in the end, I realize all health and safety of buildings is also connected, like you say. Everything's connected, really, but to the health and safety of people, like you brought up. So there's so much health and safety connections in everything. The keeping our homes healthy and safe, our cars, ourselves, whatever. It's all related, and what you do for one affects others, like you explained about the railings and all that kind of stuff, and what happens if you don't take care of it. That also has a negative effect on other things, the health of people and whatnot. So that's just a perspective that sometimes I don't think most of us really look at. Yeah, it's how taking care of one thing takes care of a lot of other stuff too. Yeah.
Okay, good. So on behalf of Martin and myself, we appreciate you attending the webinar, watching the live stream on Facebook. Keep posting, and we'll check it out and respond to you. So tune in for the next webinar, and hope to see you again. Thank you very much. Aloha. Signing off.